it's maths, but you have to learn how to get out of your own way first.
90% of people don't even think about the psychological aspect, which is madness when we know how many times we've tried and it hasn't worked.
How can we get past the obstacles we think are blocking our success?
Coach Luke is here to explain.
I really want to get to my goal. I really want it so much, but then in these little moments throughout the day, screw it. People don't know how to change. I can't work out in the mornings because I'm not a morning person. I'm an emotional eater, or I am a sugar addict. I can't do that because I'm this. Anything that comes after that from a client for me is BS.
Sometimes you're waiting for that excuse to cause something to give you a reason not to take action.
Sometimes your kids get sick and you have bad sleep and work gets crazy. It's the way to train your brain to say 0% isn't an option.
So how do you start to even make the changes?
The most powerful thing that you can do right now isn't taking this £90 a month supplement. None of this. It is.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Stacey.
And this is the Body Smart Podcast.
And today we have got our very own Coach Luke with us. He's joining us to talk about some of the things that you might have struggled with yourself, because Luke is an expert coach with over 2 decades of experience. And one of the things Luke is really great at is getting people from the place where they know they want to make a change, maybe they even know what to do, but actually doing it. He's really good at that. So we're going to talk all about it today.
I get this all the time. I think like first calls with clients and they're like, look, I know what to do. I know it's about this. And I'm like, I know you know, because everyone says this on a call, but like actually taking action to do that thing is a whole different story.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that you're really great at like getting people to open up and figure out what those root causes are. So what do you hear a lot of the time as people's reasons why they can't actually take that first step? Well,
these are all like the perceived, what I call roadblocks, so roadblocks or can'ts, and the perceived reason why. So we've got the usual, the classics, time and energy, that why I can't do it. So perfect example, but I can't work out. That's the reason I can't get to my goal. I'm like, okay, why can't you work out? I got no time. Really? It's a time thing. Yeah, like my life's crazy. I'm like, okay. So if you could, let's say you could get the body of your dreams by Monday, and all you had to do was work out 3 times this week for 30 minutes, how hard would you work to get those workouts in? I'd work out every day, do it easy. Okay, so it's not a time thing. It's nothing to do with time whatsoever. It's to do with how much you value that workouts to get into your goal, because it's so far in the distance. We always work on this effort reward ratio. And it's only when our reward is higher than the effort in which we go, okay, I can commit to something and do that. But when the effort is high and the reward is, or perceived reward is low. So in essence, that workouts, the benefits that we get are later on in life. And these are being independent in old age, so that you can play with your kids and your grandkids and enjoy a healthy, active life in retirement. But we don't get that now. We're used to that, wanting it right now. So the perceived is like, the reward is really high. It's like, well, like you don't die. It's it's less dying. So it's quite a big reward, but we don't perceive it as that yet. We just see high effort and for nothing straight away.
Especially if the goal is weight loss, because actually workouts aren't that amazing for weight loss.
Yeah, exactly. We're always trying to move people away from that as a thing. And this is the transactional mindset that people are in with weight loss. They go, okay, well, if I do the thing, I get the thing. So if I work out, I get weight loss because I deserve it. And if I pay this money, take this injection, I get weight loss. Or if I pay this money to get this supplement, and it's transactional. And we know weight loss is never in that way. Like you can't pay for something. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire, it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity. They all have to work towards it. The work needs to be done. That they obviously have, we have busier clients who deal with more stuff, but the work still needs to be done.
Yeah. That's a big thing, isn't it? About like being in shape as like proxy is a status symbol, in the sense of like, even the people who, people go, oh, well, the celebrities have the food cooked, and they still do have to go to the gym and eat the food. They still have to
eat that food.
They still have to take the actions and live to that sort of lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, of course, it can be a hell of a lot easier to be in such a privileged position, but the work still has to be done, regardless.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
And the other thing I find with time is I am guilty of this myself, being like, no, I don't have time, unless I've specifically like shaped my day around the time that I'm deciding that I'm going to work out. I'm like, no, there's no other time. But I could get up half an hour earlier.
Yep.
I could take my child to my mum's and work out in their front garden. Like, there are ways around it. It's just we have these like fixed expectations of what a workout should be. And I hear that a lot with clients, where in their mind, a workout is go to the gym for an hour, And that probably involves like a half-hour drive or like getting there, getting ready, half-hour on the way back, maybe a shower. So that's 2 hours out of your day. So then you're like, actually, trying to find 2 hours multiple times a week, I can understand why that sounds like you don't have time to work out. But the reality is that's not required.
Yeah.
So
you're right there with the fixed mindset thing. People like lists of things to do. They like to go and they say, okay, like if I follow this workout and this list of foods to eat and not eat, I get to my goal and it's great. All right. But the problem is life isn't like that, isn't lined up. There's spontaneity, which we all want in life. Otherwise it's terrible, miserable. And there's life curveballs that happen. And, you know, sometimes your kids get sick and you have bad sleep and work gets crazy and you have loads of meetings. And week by week, things change. So the only way that you're going to get a workout in and start working out regularly, it's not going to come overnight as the big bang and you're just the person who does it. It's going to be understanding that at different times throughout, you know, weeks or day by day, the workout commitment has to change. So you can't do the full 45-minute workout. Sometimes it's going to be 20 minutes. Sometimes it's going to be one set of each exercise. Sometimes it's going to be, you know, just 15 minutes or just doing something instead of nothing. And what this does is it's not necessarily the quickest way to get you forward, but it's the way to train your brain to say, like, 0% isn't an option. You know, that isn't an option. Like, you know, there has to be something over than nothing.
And taking action regardless of circumstance.
Which
is arguably the most important to keep playing the game, which is to keep doing it forever. You know, because that's the goal, isn't it? Not to just do it for a set period of time. It's to consistently keep doing it. So if you can train your mind that you take action regardless of circumstance over years or decades, like even when that friction comes after so long, you just take action regardless. It just becomes your default, which in the beginning feels super foreign. Yeah,
I mean, I don't think I've ever had in almost 20 years a true like barrier to client success being time, motivation, energy, like being an actual true reason of why they haven't got to their goal. It's always down to priorities.
So just to come back to the idea of taking action regardless of circumstance and, you know, like something's better than nothing, we obviously say that a lot. And I think a lot of people might be listening going, yeah, but you say that, you don't do that because you wouldn't look like you do if you did 15-minute workouts. So I think it's really important that we're actually honest about it. Like, obviously you've become a parent in the last couple of years. How does your time available look compared to what it was before? Like, how have you had to adjust?
So like my whole life has been set around training, nutrition. Like even since I was a kid, I was like training and I was up watching like Bruce Lee movies, doing sit-ups in my room, and it was a routine at some stage. And then, you know, when you get older, you're like, okay, well, like I work out in the mornings and I like routines, and you know, I work out and then I meditate and then I have breakfast and everything's lined up nicely. And then like kid comes in and you've got like, well, that's never happening in a million years, because one, you've got the no sleep to deal with. You've got well, like you don't know when the kid's going to wake up. You need to support your partner, or when she needs to rest and when she needs to go take a shower. You know, like you can't just, you know, swan off to the gym because things need to get done. So yeah, I think that with stuff like workouts with me at the moment, it is a case of, well, like I work out every day, and this is my ethos that everyone should be doing something every day, no matter your circumstance. It is a case of, I read it the other day, which is the perfect way to put it. It's a case of personal hygiene. It's the same. And we use the analogy of, okay, you get up, you brush your teeth. That's your habit. You should, you know, work out, and there isn't a compromise. And it's the same thing, you know, exercises. And it doesn't mean you have to blast yourself every day, but something gets done. And whether that is stretching, cardio, weights, like yoga, whatever you enjoy, something has to get done every day. Because as soon as you start making compromises in that and saying, okay, a rest day, when you know you haven't really needed a rest day because you didn't really push that hard in that workout anyway, you know, once you start making compromises, you're compromised. So have a point where you go, I do something every day and that's it, no matter the time. So now mine is, I can't be as strict as in I know exactly when it's going to happen, but before I go to bed, I'm doing something. So I'll be training late at night, early in the morning, whether I've got 40 minutes of sleep, whether I've had 8 hours of sleep, 2 hours of sleep, like something always gets done at some level. You know, I think
Can you give some more context, like times, type of stuff that you've been doing then?
Yeah, so it would literally be if I've got an upper body workout. So I've got my workouts that I'd like to do at the moment. I say I've got upper lower body workouts, and they typically would take 50 minutes. And on like green sky day, blue sky day, I would be doing stretching, mobility, a little bit of cardio afterwards, you know, so it might take me 1 hour and 10 in total to do that. That, you know, probably 60% of the time I'm never going to be able to do that. So it'll just be, okay, 2 sets of each exercises, do things faster, shorten rests,
Yeah.
shorten, all the stuff that I don't really need to do, and focus on the big factors that are going to push me forward. And sometimes I'm absolutely exhausted doing a workout, so I make things easier. I just do it. I do it easier. I do it slower. I do it lighter, but I'm still in there and doing it. And
I think
just
that's
for the
a really
habit.
important point, though, because I think it's very common to beat ourselves up of why am I not able to do the same weight as I did last week, or I'm being weak. Whereas actually, when you've got real life stuff going on, you maybe are weaker today because you haven't slept very well, you haven't eaten very well, but you're still using your body, and you're still, like, a lot of strength is neural, right? So if you're still moving in those patterns, you're still maintaining your strength.
Yeah.
You're not going to get weaker because you had one workout that wasn't as great.
Yeah, like everyone thinks that we just are constantly getting to the gym and feeling like great and getting like PBs and feeling amazing, but we drag ourselves through workouts. There are days where probably for me, like at the moment, 4 out of 5 workouts are me just going, just got to get it done. I just got to drag through it. I'm not enjoying it. I don't love it. I'm not like loving my fitness life and going into beast mode.
Yeah.
I'm just like doing the bare minimum to drag me through, because I know I'd feel a hell of a lot worse if I didn't do it.
And even, like those moments this morning, I very easily could have had a get out of jail free card because I bumped into Luke in the gym. And I was like, how did you get in here? Because it was shut, like locked, and it's not supposed to open till 7. I got there at 10 to 7 because sometimes someone is like setting up and they let me in early. So doing some stretches, 10 past 7, no one's here. I was like, could just go for a walk. But I was like, no, I'm going to reception. I'm going to find someone and get them to let me in. But it would have been very easy for me to just go, can't get in the gym.
Well,
Never
sometimes
mind.
you're waiting for that excuse to come, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're waiting for something to give you a reason.
Oh, I
to
had a
take
little
action.
conversation with my inner bitch this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's always going to be a way you can find an excuse. The brain's really good at that.
Yeah.
Of self-negotiation, that internal monologue. We'll grab onto anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you hear it from clients, and I see them write messages to me sometimes, and I see, okay, it's typing, and then they delete it. And I go, go on, what were you going to say? And they were going to say, I couldn't work out because like my gym trainers weren't clean, or my headphones weren't charged, or, it was raining outside, and I forgot. It's like just nonsense, and I know it's nonsense, so don't worry about it.
That's amazing though that they've got to that point that they can like have that rational
coaching yourself.
conversation.
Yeah, it is, but
Yeah.
it still needs to be down, and whether that is through journaling, reflection, talking to a coach, inside your brain, it can feel very convincing. All of the time.
Oh, 100%.
The brain is like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. You don't need to do that. It's fine. Like,
worked
what
super
about
hard
this?
this week. Yeah.
You reminded me of an example I had when I was face-to-face training. One of my clients texted me and said, I can't come to my session. I haven't brought any socks.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's okay. You can wear your trainers with no socks. But that in her head was like a valid reason.
Yeah.
And you're right. Your brain will just say, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, no, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, like you've always got the option, and this is what I mean by roadblocks, is to get, you're in a car, you drive to a roadblock, you've got options. You can either just get out of the car, flee and leave, which we see happen with people who are new, who are overwhelmed, who haven't kind of got it yet, haven't understood that you can find balance. You don't need to do all of the things all of the time, and you don't need to be at 100% to get you to where you need to be. Or you can, stay in there, navigate, ask questions, learn, use that roadblock as a place to be like, okay, like how can I get around this and actually stop and think for a second before being reactive and making that choice.
So coming back to the working out every day or making a point of it, is that like moving your body every day, or is that working out every day? Because that could sound extreme to anyone who's listening.
So we've got, let's be honest, like if you're an athlete and if you've got a trainer in the gym and you are, blasting sessions, full rest days are probably a good thing. But even to those, full rest days might mean an hour of movement and stretching, light movement and stretching. So what we think is rest, a lot of, if you, say you're a client, you're like, okay, fat loss training program online, and you'll see it. Pretty much 98% of those programs are going to come from bodybuilding. They're going to come from guys who are doing like massive amounts of volume, and they're training like just chest, and they're doing like 40 sets on chest in the gym every day. And like they're not going to be able to, they need that rest 100% because they're going to be pushing through it. And, but for most of it, me included, like rest days aren't rest days. They can be recovery days, but they're never a time where you're just doing nothing and just sitting there. Especially if you're someone who sits on your butt all day and you've got like, 8 hours of work behind a desk and then 4 hours of Netflix, and then you're lying down for, 8 hours sleep. Like you having enough rest, that's fine. Like you actually probably need to do a load of work to counteract that all of those seated positions that you're doing every day. So it's got to be something other than nothing every single day. And you'll know that. And as soon as you start training, you start to learn to feel yourself a little bit, and you'll know when you're tired. You know, I know like these whoop straps and stuff, they do it, but like they can also be used as a bit of an excuse. If your recovery says like 1 on a whoop strap or an app, you know, you can be like, oh, well, I'm not going to go today.
Yeah.
But if you start to learn, okay, like, yeah, like I feel exhausted, like, you know, my eyes are dry and my skin's dry and I feel it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for a fast walk, or I'm going to, you know, go and do some
even
movement.
when I'm, unless I can't remember the last time I've been bed bound, like in terms of sick, but even when I am sick, I will still go for a walk outside and try and do some sort of stretching, because you feel
It's actually really good for your immune system.
Right.
Yeah, gentle walk.
Well, there we go.
Like,
there you go.
you know, like movement begets movement. And this is the thing, like things that are at rest tend to stay at rest. And that's what you don't want, because, you know, people go, I've got no energy to work out. And they don't realize like that's the thing you do to get energy. So what I do is sometimes with clients, I go, okay, we're not calling them workouts anymore because you're exhausted. We're going to call them energy builders. So go out and do your 30-minute energy builder. They go, okay, yeah, that feels great. And you're not going to go out and get 10,000 steps. You're going out for a clarity walk, a mind clarity walk, okay, or just a mind rest walk. And that terminology can help them bring out of a zone of, okay, it's not a rest day. It's a recovery day. It's not a workout. It's not a beast mode. It's not something you do to punish yourself. It's something you do to gain energy. Because as soon as you start to move and your heart rate increases, your blood flow increases, your blood vessels expand, you start to get floods of hormones, adrenaline to start to wake you up. That's how you do it. And we have this fight or flight mode. If you get your heart rate to 130 BPM, like you no longer feel tired. Simple as that. You're in the zone. You've got movement.
You say that on Instagram stories the other day, and I was like, huh.
Just sweat.
But that's being like a bit of a benchmark sometimes now when I'm looking at it.
Just warm up. You feel fatigued, like just get up and do your warm up. Like don't think about doing a whole workout. Just go, right, I'm just going to get warm and see how that feels.
Yeah.
Dance around, punch in the air, like run around with your kids, whatever it takes, just get warm and then make a decision. Because you might just go, like I'm sweaty now anyway. It's fine. Like I'll just keep going. Or
That's actually a really great point. We talked about it on another episode with TJ Power on the idea of this 15-minute. I have a rule, like I have to do 15 minutes. And then if I'm still really not feeling it, okay, fine. I've done 15 minutes. I can go home. And he was saying that's how long it takes for
flow state.
Yeah, your flow state to kick in. So like you were saying, just get your warm-up done.
Yeah, that's it. And
actually, you don't have to follow your set prescribed warm-up. Like, my favourite way to warm up is, did you ever do exercise to music, clap? Like, no. Oh, so it's more of a girly thing. But so, like, if you're listening and you've been to, like, step or aerobics or legs, bums and tums, you know the moves, like the grapevine, the high knees, like cha-cha, whatever. That's what I just do in my kitchen.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And you know what? It's really fun. Put some music on. I dance around like a complete idiot. And 90% of the time, I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah, I feel like I can go into my gym now and go and do some weights or whatever. But if you think, oh, I've got to go and do my warm up and it's got to be like this many reps of thread the needle and this many reps of cat-cow, like that's not fun. It's not going to get you going.
You've got the side of, well, if I don't do it as well, what's the point? Because, like, you know, it all has to be perfect, obviously. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to perform my best in the workout.
Yeah.
But it's like, just get warm. Doesn't matter if you don't want to do that workout that's set out for you.
Yeah.
Just do something. Like, even if you want to skip the warm-up, but, like, do the first few sets of each exercise, really, like, get a feel for the movement, and then, you know, feel the sets, and then get into it. Like, but just don't let it make you frozen.
So what would you advise them for a typical, like, Amanda, who's, like, one of our clients who would come in, and you're saying, some movement every day. Like what would that consist of?
Well, everyone comes in at different fitness levels. So someone is at like they don't exercise, they don't do anything, they've got some joint pain, like just getting moving and getting some walks in. Outdoor walks if you can are the best version. Activity. And like I think people really underestimate the power of just daily activity. And I bring this graph up a lot for clients and in our group calls and community calls. And it's about going from, you know, that 4,000 steps a day to 8,000 steps a day and the health benefits that just there brings. And if I was going to say one thing for a client to do, it would do that. It would say, bring your steps from wherever you are. If you are 4,000 steps and under, okay, you're at high risk of all-cause mortality, disease, high blood pressure, like everything. And the most powerful thing you can do right now isn't quitting smoking. It isn't taking this, you know, £90 a month supplement. It is, you know, none of this. It is
walking,
move more, get more active. The closer you get, it doesn't have to be 8,000 steps a day right away. So what it means is if you're at 4,000 steps and under, if you can get 5,000, 6,000, or add on 500 steps this week, whatever it is, inch your way towards that 8 mark. As soon as you get to that 8 mark, the risks of all this, half.
I think
They go
that's
by
really key
50%.
as well, because 10K isn't the magic number. Actually, 8K is for
Yeah,
most
8,
people.
8.5K. And
Yeah.
you get pretty much the same health benefits and lower risk of disease than if someone's doing 16K steps a day.
Yeah, which is wild.
Start
And
there. Yeah.
it's only, if you want to break it into pockets, 10 minutes is about 1,000 steps.
Yep.
So if you think you haven't got time, have you got 10 minutes on your lunch break? Have you
Yep.
got 10 minutes after dinner? Like, do that a couple of times a day, and before you know it, you've got your extra
Yeah, and
4,000.
I think some people go, 8,000 steps is 80 minutes. Where am I getting 80 minutes from? But
Yes.
you already do so much
Yep.
of that. And you can just kind of pre-program a little bit of your life, so you just get a little bit more here and a little bit more there. When Steph worked in the hospital, I've shared this a few times, she literally got here 10,000 steps every day by just like parking at the very back of the car park. It was like a 10-minute walk in, so she had to do that there and back.
Yep.
And then went for a 20-minute walk on her lunch, and just like daily activities she had on top of that was hitting 10,000 steps
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So you can make small adjustments and changes. I think it's a big thing why, like on Instagram stories, I've probably put the same poll up for about 3 years now, for anyone, which is like, how are you moving your body today? And it's just that same concept of kind of what you're going is like, it's just to always push, do something, whether that's go for a walk or moving or dancing or just getting a workout in, because I think you were actually telling me this, Luke, like our lives are so comfortable nowadays. We have to actually force effort and movement more than we probably would naturally want to.
I think another important tip as well is if you do feel like you don't have time, is to look at what you're already doing and see how you can make it a bit more active. So for me, I found there was a period, which indeed your daughter's probably in about the same period now, where you can't really take her for a walk because she walks super slow.
Yeah.
And then she probably doesn't want to be in the pram because she wants to like explore.
She wants to get on the floor and eat dirt and stones. And
so whereas like
leaves.
when Nate was smaller, I'd just strap him into the baby carrier and off I would go for an hour and a half. I got to this point and I was like, I can't go for a walk anymore. So what I had to do was be like, right, well, what does he want to do? He wants to like play on his little trike up and down the road. So rather than me stand there and watch him, I was like, well, I'm just going to walk lengths of the road like a bit of a weirdo. But the time was there. It wasn't being used for my activity, but I had to make it used for my activity. And I think just like looking through your life with a different lens of like, where are the opportunities? Where am I already doing something that I could add movement is really important. Yeah, habit stacking.
This is back to that effort reward ratio, because it's like, well, like 10,000 steps a day, you tell a client to do that. It's high effort. The reward that they see is like, well, it's really low because I've got to make that effort. I've got to go out and do an hour and a half of walking. I've got to find the time for that. And I can't do it because, the baby doesn't want to walk. The dog doesn't want to walk because it's raining. Like whatever there's loads of different like roadblocks that can pop up. But if you start to say, okay, well, like your goal isn't 10,000 steps a day. Your goal is a 5-minute walk every hour. Like you go, all right, that seems a bit more manageable as a starting point. And like, how's that feel? Yeah, it's actually really nice. Like, it gives me a little break and I feel quite clear. And then that reward comes up slightly. And you go, okay, well, like what would happen if we moved that to 10 minutes every hour and a half? And you go, okay, yeah, that works, and you can start to creep it in. So don't try and do it all at once.
Yeah.
Start with where you're at. Don't think that if you can't get 10,000 steps today, everything's ruined and you can't do anything, you won't possibly reach your goal. That's what's going to make you frozen and overwhelmed and throw in the towel. What's going to help is a little bit more each day, 1% better is what we kind of say all the time with clients.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about movement. What about nutrition? Because that is also often something that people feel just so overwhelming. Like making all these changes to eat healthily feels like this huge elephant, and you eat an elephant one bite at a time, but where do you even start with clients?
So what clients immediately want is they want the meal plan. They will say, tell me what to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's like clear reasons why we don't do that. And it's because like nobody ever sticks to them, ever. Like it just never happens. Even myself, like I can, speak to the best coaches in the world and download something on the internet and I go, right, yeah, that looks right. Chicken and rice, this. And all that happens is after 5 days, these meals, even if you're using like a meal prep company, they start stacking up in your fridge. You start throwing them away. You've wasted like £5 a meal. It never works. And because life isn't like that, it isn't lined up.
Yeah.
We need to understand our nutrition and our feelings. Eating something you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. You should become an expert in it, because it is going to be detrimental to your health. It's going to be detrimental to how you treat your family. And if you're angry at them and snappy and short with people, like no one has an excuse to not master their nutrition. And there's always going to be a reason of why you can't. You know, if you scroll through your feed and you say, okay, well, I can't eat meat anymore because there's antibiotics in the meat. So, I can't eat plants anymore because there's pesticides in the plants. Can't eat fish because there's mercury in the fish. I'll just do fasting. I'll forget it. I'll just not eat at all. You know, it's so confusing because you're trying to look externally for a reason. And the way coaching works so well is we go, okay, well, like, how do you like to eat? Like, what foods do you like? Oh, like I like to eat this in the morning. That okay, like let's just start there with where you're at. Okay, well, notice your protein is like 40 grams a day off where it should be. Okay, and if you increase your protein, like you're going to feel 10 times better, pretty much like within a few days. Like you're not going to be feeling as hungry. Everything's going to feel nicer. You're going to feel like you've got more steady energy.
Less tired, fatigued.
Yeah, so like that's a massive win for us. It's a really quick win. Oh, but 40 grams is so much. It's not really, because like at the moment, like you just have like toast for breakfast. Like, come on, it's not really a breakfast. Let's get a little bit of structure there to sneak in some protein. So it's about meeting your client where they're at. It's about understanding what they enjoy. And some people's like, we've talked about the 80-20 principle, and 80-20 is different for everyone. Someone's 20% is very different to my 20%. My friends laugh at me. I've always been quite robotic with nutrition. So like my 20% is very different to theirs. Theirs will be, cakes, cookies, pizzas and all this. And that's not really my thing, that I would go for something slightly different. So everyone's needs are different. If you cut out everything that you love immediately, you're never going to stick to it. It's the recipe for just failure and unsustainability. So what do you love to eat? What do you love to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner? Great, eat that. There's guys, but I can't go out on the weekend because I'm going to go out to dinner with my friends and they like wine and they like desserts and they like this. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, well, like how much wine do you like? Like 2 glasses. Cool. Like what dessert do you like? Well, that's like 300 calories. Like just have them. Like, you can still get to your goal and have them. Like there's nothing particular in that food that's going to stop you from getting to your goal. And
so when you tell people that, do you... I know what the answer is. Do you find that they're like, well, that doesn't sound like it's going to work, so I'm not going to do that? And then they try and go hardcore.
100%. They want that because of this transactional mindset. Because they feel that, okay, well, if I just do the diet or the nutrition, that's all I need to do to get to my goal. So if I just stick to this, that's it. Because change is difficult. People don't know how to change. The brain likes what is familiar. Okay, even if that thing is bad for you, it will still like to do that because it likes this state of familiarity because it feels safe. So as soon as we start to make even the slightest bit of change, the brain starts to throw up reasons why we can't do it and shouldn't do that way.
Yeah. And particularly when we've been told for decades that, if you want to lose weight, you can't have cake, you can't have wine. And then you've got your coach saying, I'd like you to plan some cake in, please. No,
it's true, right? Yeah, like planning is the most important part of it, which we need to get out of like that reactive mindset in the impulsive feelings, because that's what links into guilt feelings and feeling like you've blown it. And then, one dessert goes into like a bottle of wine and goes into 3 days of like, oh, well, I've screwed it anyway. So we need to break that chain. And planning is the easiest thing you can do. Be like, right, like dinner on Friday night, that's my favorite restaurant. They do a cheesecake that I love. I don't think I ever go to a restaurant and don't have dessert. Every single time I go to a restaurant, I eat dessert, always, because I don't really have them at home. I don't really have a lot of snacky stuff at home. It's like I like to enjoy something really nice, and that's that love it, eat it, like it, leave it principle that we use as well. It's like just have it. Like you can still get to your goal. There's nothing like stopping you in one food or a certain food item from getting to your goal. It's not going to make you fat.
But you are doing it in more of a controlled environment because some of those foods are highly palatable, super high in sugar. But if you just have one dessert, you're typically not going to go get the waiter back over and order a second dessert.
Exactly.
But if you're at home and you have an ice cream or a biscuit, or like, I'll just have a little bit of Ben and Jerry's and then the whole tub's gone.
I've definitely had 2 Magnums back to back before.
Because
when you're at home, like there's no one judging you.
So there's a side of that too as well, isn't there?
And you have to understand like the environment that you're eating from, and you have to understand like, okay, like when to make decisions around food. And if you're planning ahead, we want you planning in a time where you are in a good state to be making decisions around food.
Not hungry.
Yeah, if you are overweight and you were stressed and you...
Oh, sorry, the flipping science, Stacey. Like, went to Tesco's yesterday
We were both
hungry.
so hungry.
And they both come back with a pile of food. And we were like, we both went shopping hungry and just started just unpacking this bag. And they were just like,
I was like, out of every pocket there was another snack.
Which is true. You want to be, when you're making, when you're planning, you want to be in a, like, you want to be present, you want to be in a good state, you want to be calm, you want to be intentional about the decisions you're making.
So for me, like, evening Luke does not make decisions around food. Yeah, I've banned him. Like, he is he's tired, he's irritable, like he's worked all day and he's looked after the baby, he's trying to get her to sleep and she's not, and then like it can easily go, well, I'm just going to eat whatever I want now because I haven't planned. Right.
Yeah.
So find the version of you who you need to take away responsibilities from, and that might be the afternoon person at work where you're not planned, you skipped your breakfast, you've been living on coffee, and they're just like impulsive, like what's the closest thing that I can eat? Oh, there's muffins on the tables, and like get rid of that person's responsibility and find a time in your day where you feel calm and go, right, this is what I'm eating tomorrow, this is what I'm eating for lunch, this is how I'm going to stop that from happening. It's all in the planning.
Yeah, that I actually use that. I don't let my morning self dictate whether I'm going to work out or not.
Yeah,
it's the evening before. It's like the gym clothes being laid out. But even if I wake up in the morning, I feel horrendous and tired. Like I actually know if there's a balance, if I've pushed it too far, and I would step it back. But most of the time, like there's many times I could convince myself not to work out in the morning, but I just don't listen to that voice anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice idea though to like nominate your sensible person and like have that time. So it's something we obviously encourage clients to do, is to have a fixed time where they sit down and they plan either the week or the next day, whether that's like when you're sitting having your morning coffee or whatever time of day you feel like you're most clear in mind and you can make rational decisions. Actually making that a habit makes the rest of the day so much easier. Yeah,
I think stuff like if we're getting kind of really into nutrition, like stuff like using MyFitnessPal, and I have people come, I've been tracking for a year and it doesn't work. You're like, okay, like show me your tracking first of all, and I'm like, okay, I understand what's going on here. But one of the main things that you get them to do is go, well, like MyFitnessPal isn't a tracking tool; it's a planning tool. It's there to help you navigate your week a little bit easier, so you're less impulsive around food. So you're not getting at the end of the day, open up cupboards and say, oh, where am I going to find 35 grams of protein
with no carbs?
And 8 calories. Like it's not happening, So you get an olive and random bits of food from around. So it puts you in the driver's seat and in control. It gives you a framework to work from. It's not a meal plan. So if a typical thing that I might do is get a client to fill out MyFitnessPal for the next day. But what you're most likely to eat, not what you have to eat. So put in what you're most likely to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snacks. Have a look at how your protein, your calories look from that. And then be okay if things have to change. If your friend goes, let's go for lunch, you're not going to say no because I filled out MyFitnessPal. You're going to say, yeah, great, I've got a framework. Oh, I need to replace 30 grams of protein and 400 calories. So I'm not just going to choose the soup and the salad because I think it's healthy. I'm going to choose something that fits it, that I'm going to enjoy. And it gives you a freedom from having to think about food all the time. And many people have wasted years and years of their life thinking about dieting, thinking about food, the right and wrong foods to eat, whether they should be what diet. Like you don't need to be using up that bandwidth.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a lot to take away from your energy.
Yeah.
And I think as well, using it to plan takes a lot of that like emotional side out, because you don't eat something, then put it in and go, oh God. You
like this morning.
So we ordered breakfast and I ordered my breakfast and I went, Luke, you've just had the sweet potato hash, haven't you? It says on here it's 1,100 calories for sweet potato hash.
Sweet potatoes, spinach.
And mushrooms. I was like, in your professional opinion, do you think that was 1,100 calories? He was like, no. I was like, good, because I wasn't going to track 1,100 calories.
I think we need to work on their
I think they need some help.
Yeah. We went there like a couple of months ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we ordered chips. It was like hand-cut chips or something.
Yeah, so fries to the American
fries.
listeners.
And it was like 110 calories.
That's what they'd put on the menu.
Yeah, we're like, is it one big chip? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no oil. They cooked it through air.
And it came and it was like a portion of chips. I was like, that's more like 500 calories.
Yeah.
So,
There's another thing, don't trust all the time. Like if you have an inkling that it's wrong, don't just like, I have clients do this all the time and they're like, oh yeah, that's, that avocado was like 40 calories. And I'm like, really? Well, half an avocado? No, come on.
I mean, they're like big things that can throw you out on you. You've not only got like restaurant menus are like wildly off in terms of calories and what gets put on there, but then you've also got, maybe Sai can pull up on this, but I think the food labeling can be as much as 20%.
Yeah, it is 20%.
Yeah, which,
already.
They're allowed that.
Yeah, they're allowed 20%. So even when you're tracking perfectly with a scale and doing everything by the book, it can still be It's hopefully not, but it can still be quite a bit out.
Yeah, but that's another reason to eat less packaged foods, because you're more in control then of like what you're eating.
I always talk about like calorie tracking is not 100% accurate, and this is why some people go to me, oh, I've been doing everything 100%, and I'm like, well, like from the off, like you can't do it 100%, so relax. All right, it's about managing averages. It's about like if margins of error is what we're looking at. So we always want to be working in low margin of error. And low margin of error is us preparing our own food. And, you know, if we're in a calorie deficit and we don't really understand calories and how to be mindful and intuitively with that yet, we need to go through a period of time where we weigh some foods, find appropriate options in MyFitnessPal, have a look at what actually half an avocado is with calories. And, you know, that's low margin of error. It's never no margin of error.
Yeah.
You know, it's never 100%. Anything outside of that is high margin of error. If you eat out, if someone else cooks for you, if you're not weighing your food, if you're using tablespoons instead of weighing, it's high, like up to 1,000 calories a day that people can get.
Double the calories.
On there. So think of things in low and high margins of error all of the time. And if you're in a position where you think, I'm not sure about this breakfast at this hotel, go overestimate, because the high margin of error stuff is about reducing that margin of error. So one of the things you can do is plan ahead, because that can make a lot easier. Sometimes, especially in the UK, we have calories on websites, so we can go and we can get a better look at what's going on, and then overestimate as much as you can on that. And that lowers that margin of error to give you a better ballpark. We always want worst case scenario in tracking. Like that's what people don't understand. They want to hit the pretty number, and they want to go, oh yeah, like 1,400 calories, I hit it today. And it's like, no, we want to see worst case scenario of what this could possibly be.
Yeah. That's a really good point, actually, because if I ever see a client with like every day perfectly on the numbers, I'm like,
cool.
Have you chosen stuff to fit in the numbers? Because I have done that before. It's not just you, but there is, particularly for women who are very driven, perfectionist. I'm one of them. I don't like seeing red numbers. I don't like going over the line. I don't like making it unpretty. And I will just be like, maybe it was 20 grams instead of 30 grams. I'll just put 20 grams and then it fits. And you're just lying to yourself. And I have had to like go through that journey of it doesn't matter. And we always say to our clients, actually, you don't have to hit that number. I just want you to be within 10% either side. Because also some days you're going to be hungrier. Some days you're going to be less hungry. So why would you eat the exact same every day? You're not a robot.
I mean, this is the thing, like the journey to change, if your goal is weight loss, it's maths. But you have to learn how to get out of your own way first. Like the rest is just maths. Like that's fine. Like that's sorted. Like we've known about a calorie deficit for 100 years, probably more. Okay, that is the way to manage your body composition and manage your weight, lose weight, gain weight, calories. That's it. Okay, but the rest of it is learning how to get out your own way. And that's where we come in. That's what we do. You know, we've talked about the elephant and the rider and talk about the emotional parts of the brain and the rational parts of the brain and managing them. And we all say, you know, clients say to us, I really want to get to my goal. You know, I really want it so much. But then in these little moments throughout the day, they go, oh, like, screw it, I'm just going to have this. And screw it, I'll just do that. And they do stuff that is, you know, what they feel is like self-sabotage in nature. And this is what we have to manage is how to get yourself out your own way, how to understand yourself in more detail, to understand your feelings and your reactions. And this is why, like, I really like the first month of clients' journeys, because I give them really basic habits and we go, right, like, where are you at? Okay, like, does this feel achievable? Yeah, like, I can do that. That's actually so different to what I've got before. Like, usually I can't eat this, and usually I've got to do so much exercise and so much. I'm like, cool, so you're okay with this? Yeah, that's fine. And then I want to see how they react when life throws them curveballs, when they're a bit tired, when they don't have motivation, when the scale goes up a little bit, because that's where the magic happens in coaching. And we go, okay, well, like, you realize you haven't ruined anything. Like, literally, it was just a weekend where you ate more crap than usual. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you know, it's one little blip in a long journey. That's how people change, you know, is working on those little bits.
But I do think it's overlooked, because I did look at a study yesterday which said 90% of people don't even think about the psychological aspect when it comes to achieving a weight loss goal. So 60% of people think it's about diet and exercise, which obviously it is. But if you don't work on the psychological, doing the diet and the exercise feels impossible. So only 10% of people that they spoke to were like, yeah, I know I need to focus on my mindset.
Yeah.
Which is madness when we know how many times we've tried and it hasn't worked and we keep trying to do it again. unless you change something really quite fundamental about how you're approaching it, you're not really changing that you're trying to create a calorie deficit. You're not really changing that you're trying to work out. It's how you're approaching it.
Yeah, this comes back to the why, doesn't it? It makes the journey of like, okay, like why are you actually doing this? Because it needs to be big enough for you to be able to, you know, slow down and not make impulsive decisions and go, I really want this. So let me just be uncomfortable for a little bit. Like you kind of mentioned earlier, it's that comfort feeling that people don't want to go towards, and change is uncomfortable. It's always going to be. So learning to lean into that and knowing that your results are on the opposite side of resistance always. And the things that you're avoiding right now are the things that you need to do to get success. So if you're at the moment avoiding high protein, avoiding weight training, avoiding these things and going, well, I just don't know, I'm doing everything that I can to possibly lose weight. Yeah. Like, you know, like the obstacle is the way is always where you need to lean into to move forward.
I think actually we should share our conversation earlier because I think you're a very good example of this, Jaymie.
Here we go. Put the spotlight on.
So Jamie's got high blood pressure, and obviously there's like many things you can do for high blood pressure.
Pre-high.
I mean, it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Anyway, so in denial.
It's not really a problem, guys. Come on.
Obviously, there's many things you can do. You can go for saunas. You can drink beetroot juice. You can not have caffeine. You can improve your sleep. You can meditate. You can take drugs.
You can do
all these things.
Yes.
And multiple times, Luke and I were like, but what about the sleep? You could just sleep. And Jamie's like, yeah, but no, what I'm going to do, I'm going to buy a sauna. And I'm going to... And so it's often the thing that feels like, you know, the most basic, but you don't want to do it for many reasons. And there are valid reasons, but sometimes you have just got to suck up and be like, well, the thing that I'm avoiding, I need to at least try it. I need to give it like 2 weeks to see if it makes a difference.
Are you ready to lose 30 to 60 pounds in under 6 months without restrictive diets, countless hours exercising, or any guesswork? Well, we help women over 30 do exactly that. Lose weight guaranteed. And 5 to 10 pounds a month is the average weight loss. And that's not a cherry pick statistic. That is the average. Your weight loss results are 100% guaranteed. You will lose unwanted body fat. So apply at bodysmartfitness.com. That's bodysmartfitness.com, but only if you're a woman over 30 and want to lose 30 to 60 pounds.
And I think that with many of the reasons people can't take action, it's because they've got in their head a fixed mindset around what they can and can't do. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think like, you know, they have this I am thing. You know, so like let's take, I can't work out in the mornings because I'm not a morning person. And so, okay, let's break that down. Like you've called yourself not a morning person, but is that really the case? Or are you just a really shitty evening person? Are you someone who just like has a chaotic evening where you're like still in bed at 12 in the morning, scrolling with a phone this close to your face, where you've just eaten loads of snacks and you know, next day you haven't prepared anything for the morning, so you're going to be super rushed, and like maybe that is the problem, you know? So like, let's actually look at like these things that you self-proclaim, and we call them the stories that we tell ourselves. Yeah. We spoke about this before, like I am, like the word I am, like, and anything that comes after that from a client for me is BS. Yeah. Like that's how my I am a person who does this, or but I'm the person in my friends group who always parties and does this and drinks alcohol and we have fun, or I am the, you know, I'm emotional eater, or I am a sugar addict, and they start to self-proclaim and they almost wear it as like a jewel on the crown to be like, well, this is me, and it gives them that easy out, that easy excuse to be like, okay, yeah, but I can't do that because I'm this type of person. Whereas like, you know, we know that is a BS. It is, you know, I said to you this before about like in Spanish, you have a different words for I am. Yeah. So you have two words, you have soy and estoy. And we don't have that in English. And the difference is if I say I am a drunk, okay, you have two words. So you have a soy borracho or estoy borracho, which one means I'm drunk right now. The other means I am a drunk, okay? But, you know, they distinguish between the two. In English, we say, okay, I'm 36 years old, you know, but in Spain, they say I have 36 years. It's not a part of who I am. It's not an excuse for anything of where I am in life. It is, you know, it is something that is changeable all the time. So, you know, we with these I ams, when anyone says this, I go, oh, are you a sugar addict? Yeah, I'm a sugar addict. Okay, like what types of foods do you tend to eat? I like cookies, and I'm like, okay, like, it's mainly fat that you're eating. Like, you know, like the fat sugar ratio is pretty close. You're not eating bowls of sugar. So like, that's not really what you are, is it? And they're like, oh yeah, okay, maybe not. I'm not the type of person who exercises. Okay, like you just haven't exercised before. You haven't had routine. You haven't had a reason to, not a big enough why. So like, if we start you exercising tomorrow, you are, right?
Yeah.
And also, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, not in just a like giving you an excuse way, but if you say to yourself, "I'm unfit," when you try and exercise, your brain's going, "I'm unfit," and so it feels harder, and then so it's unpleasant, and then you go, "Well, of course it's unpleasant because I'm unfit," and it just continues.
Yeah. Self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's also it's not just with I don't exercise or I'm a sugar addict or all this. It's also other things that like women specifically can have, like, oh, I have polycystic ovaries, so that's why I struggle to lose weight, or I've got issues with my thyroid, so that's why I struggle to lose weight, or I'm going through the menopause. And it's not to like try and devalidate any of those things, but there is always another person in this who's had the same circumstances, who's also been able to see success, which means you can too.
Yeah.
Actually, we were talking about one of your really amazing clients this morning, weren't we? Who she signed up. How many weeks postpartum was she when she signed up?
I'm guessing, I'm trying to link it to mine. So she must have been about, I think, I'd say 6 to 8 months was I think.
But she still had a pretty young baby.
Yeah.
And the baby did not sleep.
Yeah. So, this is us talking about, like, for me, like, we're having a baby has helped me understand our clients a lot more. So, it's easy to go, okay, like, but you do have time. You do have energy. Come on, like, just work out, prioritize it and stuff like this. And then when you have a baby, and like my baby never sleeps, so and it's tough. You understand more on a level what they're dealing with, but it's still not an I am. It's still not a reason of why you can't get to your goal. I was telling Stacey about one of my clients who it was really nice. Our first call, she was like, "Look, I'm starting this journey, but it's going to be really tough because I've got a baby who's X months old and doesn't." I'm like, same. I'm in the same position as you. And she's like, "Oh yeah," and like, "I can't, it's so hard to get the energy." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the same." And to prioritize my food. Me too. I can understand. So I think immediately she was like, "Okay, like he gets it. It's fine." Yeah. And from a coaching perspective, she'll be like, message me, like, "Just haven't slept in 2 days. It's been so crazy, and work's getting to me, and there's this, and like so many stressful." I'm like, don't worry about it. Just work on recovery. Just like, put out fires where you can, relax and move yourself forward. So she was in a position where still breastfeeding. So you can't put calories like massively low. You still have to manage calorie intake with that. She's not sleeping. She has babies to look after by herself, which is I can't even imagine that. Like, full like props to single parents and people who do it by themselves or have, husbands who are away a lot. I'm lucky that I can work from home. I can nip in and out and help out because it's tough. Mm-hmm. And, she graduated, 4 weeks ago, 30 pounds down. Like, it isn't insane. Like, she can still do it, but you have to understand that, like, you're not going to be able to do all the things all the time. You can't be at 100% all the time. There are going to be days and weeks that are tougher than the others, but don't let it derail you. Like, just be cool with just maintaining and just trying to stay above your head above water until you can push forward again, because it will get easier and there will be phases where you can put the foot on the gas. But you have to, have that flexibility within structure to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like when people look at like consistency, especially if you are like a perfectionist, there's like a great infographic I think we've put before. It's like, well, what people think, and it's like a circle. And it's basically the circle being full.
Yep.
It's just 100% of the time the circle's full, and it's like what people think consistency looks like. And it's like, to the lady you were just speaking about, Dan, it's like what consistency actually looks like, and it's the same like circle, but it's just like half full, 15% full, 100% full, 80% full. And it's just like that consistently changing, which makes sense because like your life and day-to-day things are different, but still just being just as consistent, like showing up with 15%, showing up with 20%, showing up with 80%. And then I think there's a great quote I think we've reposted before, which is like, on the days you give 40% and you only had 40%, you actually gave 100%. And it's just reframing that in your mind sometimes of just like, just keep showing up, like just keep being consistent. And
allowing yourself a bit of kindness as well, because how many people, if they've got 40%, go, well, I should, why am I weak? I should have 80% or 100%. And if I give 40%, it's still not good enough. But you're right, that's all you had. Mm-hmm. So that's all you give. And actually, progress on this journey is so reliant on self-kindness, isn't it?
Yeah. And like Joe was saying, with that, you've got, we've seen studies of groups of thousands and thousands of women trying to lose weight. And they measured across the weight, people who are at 100%, 90%, 80%, right down to 10 to 15%. Yeah, you've seen this. And like 10 to 15%, they still get to their goal. It just takes them a bit longer.
Yeah.
So and actually, the diminishing rate of return over like 80%, I mean, you can go at 100% if you want, but you're not really gaining that much more.
No. And so go slow, just don't stop. Like that is the thing. Like just move forward in any capacity. And like one of my old coaches' mottos was show up, suit up. Sorry, shut up, suit up, show up. And it can seem quite like broad on the surface, but when we look at that, it's like shut up. It's like, well, look at your excuses, look at your internal monologue of what's going on. Like, can you really not work out today, or can you just not do a full workout? Is there like middle ground that you can be found, like anything other than nothing? Could you just pop out 10 squats and 10 push-ups right now? Like, is that an option for you? You know, like, let's look at the middle ground. And the suit up is like, well, like, be prepared, like take stock and take ownership of like, you know, what's going on right now. Like have self-care and say, yeah, like I am really exhausted. I am really tired. And this is why I'm feeling this way. So instead of doing this, I'm just going to do this instead. And that's okay, because it's still better than yesterday. Okay. And then, you know, it's show up in any capacity. That's the main thing. Like just show up anything, just do anything, just every day, try and get one win on the board. You know, that's the most important part.
I think the first part of it is the hardest bit though, isn't it? That taking ownership and responsibility. It feels a bit alien when we've been told throughout our lives, most of us, like, oh, you need to go and get advice on this, or you need to go and get the right plan for this. When actually the answer is within. Like, as we said at the beginning, you know what you need to do 90% of the time. And it's dressed up in all these snazzy methods or approaches or whatever. But all of us really know what we need to do. And it's cutting the BS with ourselves of all these excuses, all these reasons. So how do you get somebody, because you know as a coach, actually I remember us having this conversation when you started, you're like, I've told her that's not a valid reason. I was like, you can't tell her, she has to tell herself. How do you do that now?
So we you know, when my style of coaching and my coach is that they're very direct. Just like, do the thing. Okay, I'll do the thing. Like, you know, it's just very strict. You know, we know that doesn't work with everyone. There needs to be an element of like understanding why they're not and helping them, you know, lead them to that point. So you have to get them into a position where you can go, all right, like how are you feeling in this situation? Like, why are you feeling overwhelmed, for one? Is it just because that, you know, like you're trying to do all the things? Can you find that middle ground in between to be like, all right, like maybe I am just trying to get ahead of myself and I could just do this. Or maybe today, like, it's just not the day. Like today is the day to just like put out a few fires and I'll just restock tomorrow. So yeah, like reeling people in and helping them understand that like nothing they do in one day can ruin anything in long-term progress. You know, like I don't care if you've eaten 2,000 calories over your allotted calories and you've had 4,000 calories in a day, still not going to stop you from reaching your goal. You know, it's just one day.
Yeah. And breaking down that reason versus excuse exercise. Yeah. Do you have any tips for people? Because we always say there's a difference between a reason and an excuse.
Yeah.
How do you get people to kind of make that differentiation?
One, get it out, write it down, talk, like actually have that conversation, put it out on there and say, okay, like, is it a reason or excuse? There's not many reasons that there are to not work out. There's really not. Like, there's not many. Like, if you're really sick, I get it. Like, don't work out. That's fine. Okay. But like, you know, if you hurt your pinky, you know, that's probably not a reason. Like, you could actually do it.
Tired is a big one.
Yeah.
But again, it's that even, I think I was watching something, you study off like the Dr. Rhonda, and she was saying, even when people are going through having new kids, actually the thing that can actually give you the most energy is exercise.
It can almost like bring back some sleep for you, she said right on that one.
Yeah.
Which
I love that reframe you said earlier though about an energy builder. Because the word workout, it's got the word work in it. It's not what you want to hear.
No, it's not good.
It was actually a big game changer for me when Jaymie always calls it training. I'd always called it workouts before we met. And when I started calling it training, that was a big shift for me because training for something rather than working out just feels so finite. It's like turn up, work out, go home. Training for something feels like a bit more purpose. And it's amazing the power of just like language or like how you frame something can change your motivation to do it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I always like training because workouts for me, I don't know, I've always thought of like, you know, like classes, spin class, all of it, and it doesn't do anything for me. It just thinks like that sounds horrible. You know, I'm not going to do it. But you can go, if I can set some long-term and short-term goals, and maybe I want to do a hike Mount Kilimanjaro in 6 months. Okay, I'm going to start training for that, and I'm going to go right. I need cardiovascular endurance. I need leg strength. I need to support my knees and my lower back. and you've got some purpose, and it brings it away from feeling like we're having to train for weight loss and fat loss, which is a terrible idea.
And actually not anything we would recommend. Like when we say to our clients, you've got your 3 workouts a week, yes, they are factored into your calorie deficit, but they contribute like 15% maybe.
Yeah, I mean, beyond like calorie trackers, because these are never accurate, like realistically, 90% of people on this listening to this podcast are probably going to maybe get like 3 calories a minute of burn. Okay, and that's only for that amount of consistency that they can keep up for that time. So they might not be able to keep that up for the 30-minute workout.
Because you're in a rest period, you mean?
Yeah. And the intensity will drop as the workout goes down. So you might be looking at like 200 calories a workout.
Yeah.
If you get a tablespoon of peanut butter slightly wrong, that's that gone. Like it's just impossible. You just can't do it. It's not a game that you want to play.
No, definitely. And you see it all the time with people like, used to put it all the time in like the newspapers. They're like, oh, if you eat this many Oreos, you've got to do this amount of exercise. Or if you eat this amount of like, Christmas dinners, you've got to do this amount of exercise. And it's just a terrible way of looking at it because the amount of time you would have to spend exercising to burn off that allotted amount of calories is just wild. Like people haven't got that time. It actually dissuades people from even wanting to exercise. Like what's the point? You don't actually burn as many calories from exercise as people think, but it's all the other benefits that exercise comes with.
Well, find something that you love, that's the way to get training consistent. And whether that is like, for me, it's like jiu-jitsu. If I don't train, I'm going to get beaten up and I'm going to get a rotator cuff injury and a neck injury because I'm going to be weak. So I need to train for that. And it's a big why. So when I'm getting up in the morning, I'm like, a few more minutes under the sheets. I'm like, well, no, because I'm going to get battered later. So I better go and train. And for other people, this might be, well, like I ran around with the kids for like 10 minutes on the weekend. I couldn't keep up with them. My knee hurt, so I had to sit out and the kids all played by themselves. And they were saying, oh, come and play. And I couldn't because I was exhausted. And I've had this recently with, friends around mine and, I'm playing with the kids, rugby and football in the garden for like 2 hours. And I'm in the moment I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking, oh, this is hurting or I'm really tired. I'm just enjoying it. And that's what you want to aim to achieve later in life. And that's why you train. It's like, train for that, train for these moments of like being at your pinnacle so you can keep up with and enjoy hikes and walking and all of these things. But find something that you love and then aim to train towards to be better at that.
And it takes the pressure off having to work really hard and burn as many calories in every session when that isn't even why you're there. So that like mentality of, oh, I haven't done as much as I could have done kind of fades away a bit when you've got a different reason to be in the gym. And
again, it pulls you away from this transactional mentality, this diet mindset of thinking that, okay, like I'm gonna have to work out and punish myself to be able to get to my goal. And you even hear this now with people who like, oh yeah, like I need to lose weight, but like I can't work out yet because I haven't got any time. So it's got nothing to do with it.
Oh, this
like,
is a good
if
one.
If you never work out in your life, you can still lose weight.
I have to wait till I lose some weight before I can work out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Have you had clients who said that to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But
well, just to sort of like, I guess offer like another perspective on that as well, because it's like a bit of a, sometimes I feel like some of the things that we're saying contradict themselves. So one is work out every day and find a reason and like just get it done. Don't make excuses. And another one is like do workouts that you enjoy. And it's like, well, on Tuesday at 6 a.m. I don't really enjoy working out for 30 minutes, but I've got to show up and get it done anyway. So like, because there's a balance to that to an extent.
It's more fun like something that you enjoy that you can train for that. Rather than like something you enjoy that you just do every day, So like if you're somebody who enjoys like dancing, like don't just dance every day because there has to be an element, especially if you're, on a body composition journey, trying to change your aesthetic, there has to be an element of strength training of these types of things. But, that's, so you don't dance every day. You train for that. And you'd be like, because if I've got more endurance, I'm stronger, I can be a better dancer, I can do that. Find that thing that you love, but work towards that on a day-by-day basis.
And see it as part of your dance practice that you train on other days to complement your dance.
Training is preparation. That's what it is, So you are preparing for something all the time. And whether that is preparing not to be, immobile in later in life and training to be completely independent.
I think one of my favourite kind of switches for training is one of our previous coaches, Erin, she loved running. And I was coaching her. And she was like, yeah, but I just love to run. I just like to get up. It's my headspace. I just want to run for like an hour every day. She was one of those people that genuinely liked it. Like she would get up at 5 and run. She lived in like the wild out mountains and it was beautiful.
Colorado.
Colorado. But she was constantly getting injured. And I was like, Erin, if you can just strength train like 3 times a week, I promise you'll run faster, you'll get less injuries, you'll enjoy your runs more. It was that thing you said, the obstacle is the way.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, but then I won't be able to run on those days because I'll be doing stuff in the gym and I won't be getting my run. So we found a way to maybe do 30 minutes of run and then do some resistance training. And she made such a switch. She was like, wow, I feel so powerful. And now I can see it is part of my running. I have a completely different mindset. I think if you have got that limiting time element and you think, well, I'm going to have to give up the thing that I do enjoy to be able to add in this stuff like prehab or resistance training, actually you really need to see how is it going to impact the thing that I love? How is it going to make me better, more enjoyable, more longevity in doing that thing I love? And it can really switch up your relationship with it.
Yeah, and this, in specifics, specific to someone who loves running, they're great, they found that activity that they love, and all these other things are going to complement it and accessorize it, and you're going to get better. The way you get better at running isn't to just pound miles every single day. That's the way to shin splints and feeling terrible. There has to be balance and recovery with that to get you forward. Sometimes it is taking 3 steps forward and 1 step back. That's what is part of training as well. But we're training specifically for stuff like fat loss. The purpose of training for fat loss is pretty much like muscle retention. Like when you're in a calorie deficit, that's the goal. The goal is muscle is prime real estate. You don't want to lose it. The more muscle that you lose during a calorie deficit, the tougher maintenance is. And you can pretty much guarantee that if someone has had a low protein diet and no weight training and lost loads of weight, they're going to gain it back. And the weight is going to either come back very quickly or it's going to creep back on over time. And they're going to be in a much worse position than when they first started. So, when you're in a calorie deficit, don't think of, okay, I've got a weight train to lose fat or to tone up my arms. What you're doing is try and keep muscle tissue. That's what you're trying to do. So it doesn't have to be all of the time, but you have to stimulate your muscles often and intensely enough to get that. So it might be twice a week, but in those 2 sessions, you work hard, make sure that your muscles are feeling it. But this is the reason that you should train for a calorie deficit.
Yeah. In terms of giving people some ABCs of what to do then when it comes to nutrition, what would you, if you had 5 key points, for someone who's listening or wanted to start, has heard some of this, relate to some of it, what are 5 key sort of things that you'd want them to focus on?
Number 1 is take an investigation phase. Don't try to do all the things at once on day 1. Take a phase where you just kind of see what happens and start to get a little bit more mindful about things and making decisions in a good moment. So 1 would be planning. It would be be thoughtful about what you're going to eat, and it will make your life so much easier. It gives you structure to the week. If you have a family that you're cooking for and you've got 2 kids and a husband and they all want to eat different things, and you're finishing off some kids' meals at the end and you're trying to measure it's chaos, right? So you have to find that element of planning to make your life easier. It's also going to take out the thinking about food every single day, and thinking about what choices should I be eating this, shouldn't I be eating this, is this good for me, is this bad for me? Planning gets rid of all that. The decision's already been made. It will make your life a hell of a lot easier. So start with an investigation phase, move on to planning.
How long would you do that for?
The investigation phase, I would use a month.
Wow.
As an investigation, but it doesn't mean that you can't progress in other areas of nutrition. But if I look at someone's nutrition for a month, I can give them amazing structure and pretty much a step-by-step system of where you need to get to, a clear route to success, which most people don't have. The problem with consistency is people go, well, like before I commit, I have to trust it and I have to know this exactly where I'm going. Okay. Yeah. And if any of our coaches look at someone a months of data, they can go, okay, I can tell what they do on the weekends here. I can tell what they do with their tracking. I can tell that their habits aren't enough here. We've just got so much data from it, But within the ins and outs, for client success, the ones who plan ahead always do better than the ones that don't.
Yeah.
The ones who have high protein always do better than the ones that don't commit to that or find out a friction point and don't make the change. The ones that prioritize daily movement, the ones that get the most results. We've seen it, with daily movement, it is so powerful when you're trying to lose weight because your calorie deficit window increases, massively. And you can get away with more within that. But if you've got a very small amount of activity you do in a day, it's difficult. And it's the speed that is the issue. We always want speed of clients because that's what motivates them to go forward. But if you don't have that movement, you won't get the speed, and you'll lose motivation, and you'll feel like stuck, like you can't do anything to push yourself forward.
So investigation phase.
Yep. Investigate, planning, protein, movement. You know, these are going to be your core kind of pillars. And if, when I say these things, if one of them, if you're listening, you go, oh yeah, but I can't do that because of this, and I don't want to do that because of this, that's the way. You need to do that one thing that I'm saying.
First.
You need to do it. So, you know, if it's planning, you go, I can't do that because that's where you need to work on. All right. Let that be the guide of what you're avoiding to lean into to make you change.
Yeah.
And that is where a coach is so powerful, because it's so easy for us to say, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that. And then we just don't. And we get on with the rest of our lives and nothing changes.
It's blind spots. You know, we don't see them. And that's where coaching is really good. It's like we can really focus on these blind spots and go, yeah, but you recognize you don't do this. And we actually do this at Body Smart as coaches because, you know, we're always holding each other to a high accountability. And, you know, we're sharing, okay, like I've got this problem. Like, how do we get around this? And someone goes, oh, but you thought about that. It's my blind spot. Okay, have you noticed, Luke, that when you do this, like you're so direct and you say people like this, and they can go, oh, you know, he said this, you know, you could have gone a bit softer. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, I could be a bit softer in that scenario. So it's so good for blind spots, and especially with weight loss, we can create these blind spots quite easily, and we go like, no, I don't want to workouts. I can't deal with that now because it's a whole big thing, and I need a new outfit, and I need a gym membership, and I need this, and my bad knee, and you know, we can do that, but that's the area that you're always going to need to go.
And the coach will hold the mirror up, and that can be uncomfortable, can't it?
Yeah. I mean, no one likes to hear it.
Yeah.
You know,
but like that's what's been keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
So if you genuinely want to move forward and make that change, I think it loops back to what we said at the beginning. You've got to be ready for it to be a little bit uncomfortable and to do stuff that you haven't done before. You've intentionally not done before.
Yeah.
How do you get to, so like, because a lot of what we're talking about here is like mindset and like being able to approach the problems with the right mindset. But if that's never been you, you know what I mean? If you've always, like, when you've dealt with it in a negative way, your cup's been half full, or you've looked at the problems and not the solutions, a lot of what we're talking about logically makes sense. But like, to some people, they can logically understand that, but when that problem arises in their life, they don't look at it with a solution mindset. They look at it with a problem mindset, and just like, well, so how do you start to even make the changes or the switches?
Yeah. So like the things you have to manage there is like overwhelm. So you have to bring it down to make something so easy, you know, and give them the understanding that like it's not always going to work. Like if you, for example, you're like an emotional eater, and you know we can give you tools for emotional eating, and but it's not going to happen overnight. You're not just going to stop emotional eating every evening because you're bored, lonely, tired, whatever it is. It's going to take a process of repetition, and over time it could take months to break this down into a position where you feel in control finally. So yeah, like when we have that fixed mindset, is highlighting it with a client, but also coming around it in a way where like, look, I'm your teammate. And this is what people don't understand about accountability with coaching. And a coach isn't there to be like, you're doing this wrong, you should be doing that, you shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, that's not what it is. You know, oh, you overate and you ate some pizza on Saturday night. Like, you're never going to get to your goal. Like, who's that motivational for? Like, no one. Like, you know, a coach is a real person who understands where you're at, understands the struggles that you have in life. They understand that the limiting beliefs that you have that might not actually be true, but they're true to you right now. So I'm going to help you. I'm going to help guide you to the point of that conclusion. So understand that, okay, I don't know, like maybe he's got a little bit of a point here because I keep getting to the same roadblock, and I keep getting, you know, 2 pound increase on the scale after a weekend, and it throws me off, and I get anxious and I feel like crap. And I'm like, okay, but like, let's be realistic. Like, it wasn't a fat gain, was it? It's just a bit of fluctuation because you had a couple of, you know, glass of wine, a bit more carbohydrate, a bit more salt on a weekend, and you've got a little bit of a weight fluctuation. It can take time. So having a teammate there to help with these, you know, rational or emotional responses, and understanding which is which, understand who's in charge, You know, is the elephant or the rider in charge? We've used this analogy before, but you know, the elephant is that emotional part of the brain. It is the reactive part of the brain. It is, once it's got made up its decision, it's just going to keep going. It's going to trample. It's not going to have a plan going forward. It's just going to keep going. And this is, you know, with clients, a case of like the screw it's. They go, oh, well, like, you know, I've had 2 cookies now, I've blown it. Like, I'm over my calories, screw it. You know, and that's.
Do you think with that a lot of the time though is it's one decision? So you know what I mean? To eat a cookie more than you were anticipated, or have like a bad evening or a bad meal, to just say screw it is like one decision.
Yep.
Versus to actually go, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? And then like taking a moment and be like, how's my day gone? Oh, I'm really stressed out. I've just come back and I'm using food to, you know, so you start asking those questions and get curious. It's a lot more like brain power and
100%,
decisions to be made. And sometimes when you're at the end of the day and it's been a stressful day, it's the last piece that you've got. But
you want to numb, right?
Yeah, But if that's, and sometimes like I can have complete like empathy for the person going through that situation.
Yeah.
The caveat always for me is, okay, if that happens and it happened like as a one-off, yeah, cool. But it happens again and it happens again. It's now becoming a repeated behavior. The only way we were going to break that cycle is by getting curious and looking to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, in that situation, the easiest thing is like take 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You don't have to like do anything drastic and like do it. Just take 30 seconds. Just walk out the room 30 seconds. You don't even need to think. And just put a little kind of break point in between making impulsive decisions, because it's generally those impulsive decisions day by day that's going to be holding you back. You know, that short, like, you don't, oh, I didn't even think about it. And then afterwards, why did I eat that? I don't even know why I wanted it. Didn't even enjoy it that much. You know, and that's
like giving your rider the
down.
reins back for 30 seconds, isn't it, to be able to steer
exactly
again.
Put the rider back in charge, just to see if we can calm down the situation and understand what's been going on, so that we can do better next time.
Yeah, definitely. So you had your 4 pillars. Is there any more words of wisdom you want to finish on today?
I think that if, you know, we work with women with weight loss, and I'm sure a lot of people, that's their journey on here, is understand that if your brain immediately thinks, right, I need to lose this weight as fast as possible, okay, that's going to become an issue, because it's never going to be as fast as you want, okay? It's always going to be a little bit slower. So rather than working with speed, try and make your journey as meaningful as possible. So that's what you want to work on. It's like, not how quickly can I get rid of this, how meaningful can I make this? Because generally, like, the journey is always better than the destination. And what you learn along that and how much you put into that is going to help you get to this area where everyone wants. We want an area of freedom. We want to become free from diets and free from having to think about food all the time, and free from, you know, self-esteem issues and feeling lack of confidence. And the only way that you can do that is go, right, like, this is really meaningful for me now. This is really purposeful for me. This is, you know, how I can keep some core principles throughout my life, where everything else is really chaotic and I can't control loads of variables, but I can control these little things here. And that will, you know, make me feel like I can, you know, get through the day and feel healthy. So make it meaningful.
And I think as well, fast for a lot of people is also relative.
Yeah.
Like we actually had one of our clients comment on a recent Instagram post being like, oh, I've done all these other stuff in the past and it's been really fast, but since I've been at Body Smart, I've actually been dead consistent and it's not as fast, but I'm actually getting towards my goal. I just was like, you're going as fast as you can. Like, it's relative. Like, people perceive fast with weight loss as like, oh, you were able to lose 3-4 pounds a week and done it for a couple of weeks and then fell off. That's fast. I'm only losing a pound a week, but I've been able to do it for the past 20 weeks.
With that, like, most people don't actually know how to measure their progress. Like, a lot, like, tons of clients that I get in like the first 2 weeks, they'd be like, oh, I'm so demotivated, I'm not getting results. I'm like, what do you mean you're not getting results? Like, you've got like a 2 pound average, like, every week. Like, it's the most weight that you can lose. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, how are you measuring your weight loss? Well, like, one day and it goes up and down. Like, you cannot measure weight loss on a scale on a day-by-day basis. That's not how you measure weight loss. Like, how you measure weight loss is trends and averages. Like, it's the only way. It's not like you don't lose weight every 24 hours. It's not how your body gets rid of fat. Okay, this is a long-term process. So look at your weekly average. So you've got Monday to Sunday. Weigh yourself every single day. Take an average of that weight, and then compare it to the next week and compare it to the next week. And this will give you a weekly moving average. And the weekly moving average is the only way that you can measure progress. I say this to my clients, they'll probably be listening to this and they'll be saying, hey, keep saying that to me. And they still want to be drawn back to these day by day, you know, fluctuations, because that, you know, the old diet mindsets, you know, old habits die hard. But
Oh, I still
it doesn't
have that.
tell you anything. Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, working with one of our newer coaches, and I just wanted like some new programs, whatever. But I'm being a good client, putting all my data in the app for her, and had a massive Indian curry on Saturday night, and my weight went up a kilo, and I was like, oh, don't want to put that in.
That's it.
And I was like, oh, I don't want to put that in. Oh, that's an issue.
Yeah.
People like don't realize that carbohydrates has the word hydrate in it.
Yeah.
Okay, it grabs onto water molecules and it needs the water to be stored, right? So it's going to a few pounds of water just to store like 200 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
So it's going to show up higher on a scale for 2 days.
But I know this,
I know.
and I still have that little voice that's like, don't put it in the app.
Yeah,
Don't get
100%.
Alice
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's it. But that's a normal reaction because
it's so
especially
normal.
if you've had years of dieting and this is how you've always responded. This is a new way to think about things. So, it could be me just repeating every time to a client and say, so frustrated. I'm like, I understand. Remember this happened before? Do you remember what happened 2 days later? Oh yeah, it's fine. And now I'm 30 pounds down. Cool. Same's going to happen now. Like you haven't blown anything. It's just a fluctuation. And this is when they say, oh, I've gained weight. So you haven't gained weight. This is a weight fluctuation. Like you're losing 2 pounds a week. And you have been losing 2 pounds a week consistently for like 10 weeks. Like you're doing unbelievable. Focus on the wins. Don't focus on a little blip on a scale.
And also, if your body didn't fluctuate, we'd be a bit worried because you're a living organism, right?
Yeah,
You're
that's it.
supposed to change as the days go on.
The other option is like, okay, well, your body doesn't automate all these responses. If your body doesn't automate all these responses, do you want to manage your own water retention, your own digestive system, your own mitochondria? Like, no, you've got enough to think about. Like, celebrate that your body does all these things and you don't have to think about it whatsoever.
Yeah. Amazing. So much wisdom, Luke. I feel like we could talk for hours, but people have got days to continue with. So thanks so much for coming on, Luke. And I think it's been a really great insight as to what coaching actually entails, because it's not about diet and exercise, really, is it?
No, definitely not.
Oh, so many gems from Coach Luke on that episode today. If you want to hear more from the horse's mouth, so to speak, on how our coaches work with their clients, then check out our chat with Coach Anna on episode 84.